We are not just talking about intelligence, but superintelligence. Nick, it seems that the topic gets more attention nowadays. Do you see it more as a concern or a threat, you personally?
I think it's good compared to where things were 2 years ago. The whole field was almost entirely neglected. The challenge now, I think, is to channel this attention, this concern, into actually constructive effort, to the right kind of research progress that we will need.
Do you share the opinion of somebody like Elon Musk or Stephen Hawking that they see a huge concern and even a huge threat for the whole humanity?
I think there is a big threat, also a big hope. And really the net result of that is a huge challenge for us to try to get our act together. This is still very likely very far off, but there is groundwork that we can start doing today. We can start build up the right research communities, make progress on some of these problems related to the control challenge, how you would actually engineer a superintelligence so that it would be aligned with human interests, so that it would actually do what we intend for it to do. That's a research program that might take many decades to run to completion, and the sooner we start, the better the odds that we will actually have a solution to that by the time we need it.
Do you see it only as a research topic or rather something for everybody of us? So as talking about the kind of digital ethics maybe behind that?
I think there is a broader conversation that needs to be had, and I'm sure it will be had as we move closer. But sometimes people they like to immediately jump to politics and conflict and ethics. I think there is a risk that the actual nitty-gritty technical research agenda gets neglected so that people can immediately start to debate the juicy things. I want to make sure that we actually do the hard work as well as have this wider social conversation.
Actually, when robots or artificial intelligence is taking over a lot of the work, maybe also the work we don't want to do, we might get a lot of spare time. So what we should do with that?
Well, we'll have a long time to figure that out if things go well. Now, I do think that over the longer term, and I don't think this is imminent, we need to rethink the role of work. So right now, why is work important? It's a source of income and a source of meaning. So these are two separate problems then. If we no longer work, we will still need a source of income, and so there might be some social insurance scheme that will be needed in the long term for that. Basic income guarantee or something like that. And then culturally, we would need to rethink where we find meaning. The idea that you have to go into the office and that what gives your life meaning is actually a big historical novelty. So now we are in this bizarre situation where sort of the highest status people in society are the ones who work the hardest. The doctors and the lawyers work 7 days a week, and for most of history it was the other way around. Like the high status thing was not to have to work. You were an aristocrat. You didn't have to prostitute yourself to sell your labor for a wage. So clearly this is something that can change. Children take a lot of meaning in life without doing anything very useful, right? So over time, the idea that the only way that you can be a worthy citizen is by going into work and earning a wage would have to change. But I think that's something that one can change over time.
Last year, approximately at that time, I was interviewing Jeremy Rifkin here, who said it would be also the end of capitalism in terms of this zero marginal cost society. It seems that everything goes together somehow because it goes to the same question. So what we do after capitalism gets to its end or is accompanied by a different kind of society.
So I guess I'm going to try to follow the argument for what exactly is it that would be the end of capitalism?
Because robots and artificial intelligence take over a lot of the work, and we can produce a lot of things to zero marginal costs. That makes no sense of the capitalism principle anymore. So it's his argument.
Yeah, I'm not sure I buy that. And it could go the other way around. That is even more capitalism, where labor itself becomes something that can be produced. So right now you have sort of human labor and you have capital that go together to produce an output. But if the human labor part, not just our physical labor, but our intellectual labor as well, is something that that can be produced, you could enter in some scenarios, and some of these scenarios might be quite undesirable. Some kind of hyper-capitalist regime where you have a rapid proliferation. You just invest more and more in digital workers, digital minds, until the marginal revenue that one of these can bring in equals the cost of producing another one. So you have sort of the income to labor shift towards the marginal productivity. And, subsistence level for humans might be higher than subsistence level for these digital workers.
You personally, in 5 years from now, where do we see us in a positive way, let's say?
Well, I mean, most likely just incremental progress from here on, similar to what we've seen in the last 5 years, more so. It's hard to answer that in general. Like, you have to look at sector by sector. I mean, virtual reality is something that at some point will start to happen in a bigger way, maybe around 5 years from now.
You don't see a big disruption at that moment?
From artificial intelligence. I think that the AI we have now will have an impact on a lot of different sectors. But within 5 years, not a revolutionary impact. It will just be one thing that makes a lot of things work better. So if you're selling stuff from a catalog, like actually having some recommender system that for each consumer can sort of find what they're most likely to actually want. So if that works a little bit better, like your whole experience gets a little bit better. Self-driving cars, they're probably going to happen gradually. First they can cruise on the highway, then they can do more and more. So I think there's like a wide range of applications of machine intelligence that will enter the economy at various points. But to me, the really fundamental challenge is what happens if and when AI actually succeeds in its original ambition, which was all along not just to do specific things, but to replicate the same general purpose intelligence that makes us humans have this peculiar position on the planet.
The big stage is waiting for you. Thank you very much.